Good morning. On behalf of the Equal Justice Coalition, welcome to the Talk to the Hill for Civil Legal Aid. This is the 24th year in which lawyers from all over the Commonwealth have come together with state representatives, state senators, and legislative and executive decision makers. And we're here today to do the one thing that we all know lawyers know how to do: talk. We're here to talk with our elected officials about the importance of civil legal aid. You know, as lawyers, what a huge difference a lawyer can make. But you also know that while there is a right to an attorney in criminal cases, there is no right to counsel in civil proceedings. And you also know that what we call civil proceedings are very often life-changing events for people in crisis. Civil proceedings include housing and eviction cases, immigration and deportation cases, domestic abuse cases, unemployment benefits cases, and many others. And for our most vulnerable neighbors and friends, being involved in a civil legal proceeding often means being in crisis. It means being unable to pay medical bills, being denied benefits, being physically threatened, or being about to lose a home. Everybody in crisis who needs a lawyer should have a lawyer. Let me say that again. Everybody in crisis who needs a lawyer should have a lawyer. Nobody should have to face eviction notices, domestic abuse, housing court, deportation proceedings, or an unemployment hearing without a lawyer by their side. Everybody in crisis who needs a lawyer should have a lawyer. And that is where civil legal aid comes in. The Massachusetts Legal Assistance Corporation, MLAC, funds programs that provide civil legal aid for people at or below 125% of the federal poverty level. That is, those making less than $37,500 a year for a family of four. It is when our most economically vulnerable neighbors are in crisis that civil legal aid steps in with a lawyer to help. And thanks to you, the lawyers who have advocated for MLAC funding year after year, and thanks to your legislators who have made it a priority, legal aid programs across the Commonwealth have been able to help more eligible residents every year. Not long ago, in fact, the last time that we had our last in-person walk to the Hill, I told you that a staggering 57% of qualified legal aid recipients had to be turned away because of lack of funding. The legislature heard our call and increased funding year over year for the past several years. And as a result, that turnaway rate is now down to 47%. This is phenomenal work. More funding means more people being served. And yet, there remains a huge unmet need. Almost half of low-income residents in crisis and needing a lawyer are still turned away. That's why we're here today, to ask our representatives to continue their good work of increasing funding for civil legal aid each year so that the civil legal aid lawyers can continue their good work of helping our neighbors in crisis. That's why we're here, and that's what the Equal Justice Coalition is all about. Now, before we begin the program, I would like to take a brief moment to honor the former Senate President, Thomas F. Birmingham, who died just last Friday. As you may know, Senator Birmingham was instrumental in the first legislative appropriation for civil legal aid many years ago, and representatives and senators today carry on his legacy. Let us pause for just a moment to remember Tom Birmingham. The Equal Justice Coalition is a coalition in its truest sense. Our founding organizations, the Massachusetts Bar Association, the Boston Bar Association, and the Massachusetts Legal Assistance Corporation, have worked together hand in the fight for civil legal aid for the last quarter century. And so I'm delighted to introduce the leaders of two of our partner organizations, Grace Garcia, president of the Massachusetts Bar Association, and Chin Pham, president of the Boston Bar Association.